Ladies and gentlemen, let's face something most people don't want to talk about. After 70, life changes. Your body slows down, your energy is not what it used to be, and suddenly the world looks a little different. You spent decades taking care of others, your children, your spouse, your colleagues, but now the question isn't about them, it's about you. Who should you live with? Who should be around you in this final chapter? The answer to this question determines the quality of your remaining years. It is not simply about convenience. It's not just about having a roof over your head or a warm meal on the table. It is about dignity. It is about peace. It is about whether you spend your last years feeling valued or whether you fade into the background of someone else's life, treated like an afterthought. A lifetime of hard work, sacrifice, and responsibility should not lead to an existence where you feel like an obligation, yet this is the reality for many older people who in their later years find themselves living with family members who no longer see them as individuals with needs, desires, and dignity. Instead, they are treated as burdens, tolerated, accommodated, but never truly welcomed. This quiet erosion of self-worth does not happen overnight. It is a slow and painful process that starts with small signs, a glance of impatience, a sigh of frustration, a conversation filled with irritation rather than warmth. The tragedy is that many elderly individuals do not even realize when they have become unwanted guests in their own children's or relatives' homes. They justify the coldness, they excuse the neglect, they try to convince themselves that they are overthinking things. But the truth is undeniable. When you feel like a burden, you begin to shrink. You speak less. You hesitate before asking for anything. You apologize for existing. This is not how the final years of a person's life should be spent. No one deserves to fade into the background, to become an afterthought in the very family they spent their whole life building. The signs are always there. When your presence is met with sighs rather than smiles, when your requests, no matter how small, are viewed as inconveniences, when you are spoken to rather than spoken with, you are no longer in a home. You are in a space where your existence is being tolerated rather than cherished. This is not what love looks like. This is not what respect looks like. And it is certainly not what you deserve after a lifetime of giving and sacrificing. Living with people who make you feel like a burden has consequences beyond emotional pain. It affects your health, your mental well-being, and even your will to keep going. When you are made to feel like you are in the way, like your needs are too much, like your presence is an inconvenience, something inside of you begins to shut down. It starts with small things: eating less, talking less, withdrawing from social interactions. But over time, it becomes something far more dangerous, a loss of purpose, a loss of identity, a loss of self. Many older adults convince themselves that staying with family is their only option. They worry about finances, about loneliness, about the uncertainty of living alone. But there is a reality that many refuse to acknowledge. The loneliness of being unwanted is far worse than the solitude of living on your own terms. A small apartment filled with peace and self-respect is far better than a large house where you feel like a shadow, where every request is met with irritation, where you are seen as an obligation rather than a loved and valued member of the household. The guilt is often unbearable. Parents who raised their children with love and care now find themselves afraid to ask for anything, afraid to express their needs. They tell themselves that their children are busy, that they have their own lives, that it's understandable. But this is not about being busy. This is about how people choose to treat those they claim to love. Respect is not about having time, it is about making time. And when someone refuses to make time for you, when your presence is met with impatience rather than affection, you are not in a home. You are in a situation that is draining the life out of you. Aging is already difficult. The body weakens, energy fades, memories blur. But the greatest tragedy is not the physical decline. It is the emotional isolation that comes from being surrounded by people who no longer see you as an individual, who only see you as a duty they must fulfill. This is why it is crucial to make hard choices. to prioritize your well-being over societal expectations, to understand that your life still belongs to you even in old age. No one prepares for this stage of life. Society romanticizes family, telling people that being with children and grandchildren is the natural and right path. But not all family members treat their elders with dignity. Some feel entitled to your presence, but unwilling to give you the respect and care you deserve. If living with others means walking on eggshells, suppressing your own needs, and feeling like a constant inconvenience, then it is not the right place for you. A person's last years should be a time of reflection, peace, and dignity, not an experience filled with silent suffering. If you feel like a burden, if your presence is not met with warmth and love, then you are not in the right environment. No matter how much history, obligation, or guilt ties you to a place, your well-being must come first. The hardest decisions in life are often the ones that preserve your self-respect. Choosing to live where you are valued is not selfish, it is necessary. What many do not realize is that feeling unwanted is more damaging than physical illness. It wears down the spirit. It creates stress that weakens the body, it fosters depression, and it robs people of the very will to keep living. The difference between a fulfilling old age and a miserable one often comes down to one simple factor. Whether you are in an environment where you feel respected, wanted, and appreciated. If that is not the case, then something must change. People will tell you to be grateful, to accept what is given, to not expect too much. But gratitude does not mean tolerating disrespect. Accepting reality does not mean surrendering to mistreatment. There is a difference between compromise and self-sacrifice. And if your presence is constantly met with irritation, if your needs are treated as problems, if you find yourself feeling like a guest in what should be your home, then you are not in a place where you can thrive. Life does not end at 70. The years you have left are just as important as the ones you have lived. They should not be spent in silent suffering, in quiet resentment, in spaces where you feel like you are merely existing rather than truly living. The only question that matters now is, where will you choose to spend the rest of your life and with whom? Because that choice will define the quality of your remaining years, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is more important than that. There comes a time in life when the environment we live in starts to shape our experience more than we realize. As people age, the importance of companionship, understanding, and shared experiences becomes even more significant. One of the most beneficial choices an older person can make is to consider living among peers, individuals who share similar life experiences, struggles, and perspectives. Being surrounded by people who understand the challenges of aging creates a sense of comfort that cannot be found elsewhere. When people live with those in similar stages of life, they find common ground, reducing feelings of loneliness and isolation. Older individuals often struggle with the fact that their needs and priorities shift dramatically from those of younger generations. Family members may be busy with careers, raising children, and dealing with their own responsibilities. The result is that the elderly sometimes feel like an afterthought, struggling to find meaningful connection with those around them. Living among peers eliminates this divide because the individuals in such a community all face similar realities. There is a natural sense of belonging that develops when people live in an environment where others truly understand what they are going through. One of the greatest benefits of being among peers is the mutual support that naturally arises. In a multi-generational household, the needs of an elderly person may be overlooked simply because younger family members do not fully grasp the difficulties of aging. But when older individuals live together, they instinctively look out for one another. They check in on each other's well-being, provide companionship, and share knowledge that can help make everyday life more manageable. A shared sense of responsibility forms, creating an environment where everyone feels valued and cared for. There is also a deep psychological benefit to being surrounded by people who do not view aging as a burden but as a shared journey. When living with younger people who do not understand the realities of old age, seniors often feel the need to suppress their struggles, avoid discussing their challenges, and downplay their limitations. This can lead to a sense of isolation, even within their own home. However, when individuals live among their peers, there is no need to pretend. They can be honest about their difficulties, share their worries, and receive genuine empathy rather than mere politeness. Beyond emotional support, living among peers offers practical benefits that are often overlooked. Many older adults find that their daily routines align more naturally with those of people in the same age group. Eating schedules, sleep patterns, and activity levels are often similar, reducing the stress that comes from trying to adapt to the faster-paced lives of younger individuals. In a community of peers, there is a greater understanding of each person's pace, allowing for a more harmonious and fulfilling lifestyle. Another key advantage of living among peers is the opportunity to remain socially active. Loneliness is one of the greatest threats to an elderly person's well-being, often leading to depression, anxiety, and a decline in physical health. In a setting where everyone is of a similar age, social interactions become more frequent and meaningful. Conversations flow more naturally because people share common references, experiences, and interests. Activities designed for older adults become more accessible, making it easier to engage in hobbies, games, and other forms of recreation that keep the mind and body active. The structure of such living arrangements also helps maintain a sense of independence. Many older individuals fear becoming dependent on their children or other relatives, worrying that they will become a burden. In a peer-based living situation, there is often a balance between receiving support and maintaining personal autonomy. Many senior living communities offer services that assist with daily life while still allowing individuals to make their own choices, fostering a sense of dignity and self-sufficiency. Health and wellness are also better managed in communities designed for older adults. Regular health checkups, access to medical professionals, and fitness programs tailored to aging bodies are more readily available. In a multi-generational household, health concerns may be ignored or downplayed by younger family members who do not fully understand the risks associated with aging. However, in a peer-based setting, health is a shared priority. People are more likely to encourage each other to stay active, eat well, and seek medical attention when necessary. Another factor to consider is the reduced stress that comes with living among those who share similar priorities. In a home where younger individuals dominate, the pace of life is often dictated by work schedules, school routines, and social obligations that do not align with an older person's needs. The constant movement, noise, and unpredictability can be overwhelming. Living among peers creates an environment where life moves at a more manageable pace, allowing for relaxation and peace rather than stress and exhaustion. One of the more unexpected benefits of peer-based living is the opportunity to form new, meaningful friendships. Many older individuals find themselves losing lifelong